The Solo Series finals are this weekend. I'm going to preview it in this video and give you my top 10 predictions for the tournament. I also want to go over some of the new team updates because we have some new players trying out with each other. Let's get straight into it. So let's discuss the Solo Series. Now I know the Eraser 100k Solo LAN is today. I'm not going to preview that in today's video because by the time you see this it will probably have happened. But don't worry, I'll be reviewing that tournament in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned for that. But listen, we're here today to preview the Solo Series finals. After 6 weeks of competition, we have 100 of the best pros on the region competing against each other this Sunday. I'm going to go through my top 10 predictions now. It was so difficult to narrow this down because there are about 30 players that I felt could have been in this list, so getting it down to 10 was incredibly difficult. There's so many top quality players in this lobby, so it was impossible to pick 10 without missing out on some big pros. So let's kick off the list. In 10th place, I've got Malabuka. Now listen, we all know how good of a solos player he is. If you were there in chapter 3, you'll know that he was regarded as one of the best solo players on the region. I think he's going to do well in this tournament. The fact that he's splitting Canyon Crossing with his new duo mate Vico will help as well. If you don't know, the new Storm Surge is enabled in all tournaments, which means that instead of the old system where it was basically just how much damage you could do, now it's how much damage you take minus off from how much damage you did to make a net statistic. I'm quite excited to see how the new Storm Surge plays out in this tournament and the Eraser LAN as well. But listen, let's get back to the top 10. In 9th place, I've got Pixie, one of the best individual fighters in EU and a brilliant solo player. There's no way I could leave him out. His drop spot situation is a bit volatile. He's got his half of OXR HQ uncontested, but he's got Nebs and Pablo Wingu landing above him, so I think that could get a bit messy. But even if he does have to fight off spawn in some games, he's such a great solos player. I think he'll make it count in the games that he does well in, and I'm sure he'll place in the top 10. In 8th place, we've got the second Russian player on this list, which is Panzer. You can see by looking at this part of the map that it's quite congested, so I do think there could be some issues. However, Panzer is a great solos player, he's a great fighter. I think he'll probably be able to rise above any of these issues and finish well. In 7th place, I've got Demus. Now, if you've been following competitive Fortnite this year, then he needs no introduction. He's really burst onto the scene in 2025, establishing himself as a top pro and finishing 6th at his first ever globals. For this tournament, he's managed to secure himself a pretty decent drop, pumped power and the lake to the west of it. So with that, I think he should be able to place high. We've seen in the past how good of a solo player Demus is. His individualism is excellent, and I think he'll do well in this tournament. In 6th place, I've got Karama. Now, there's no way I couldn't include him, first in the Opens, also qualifying on NA Central. He's just been in brilliant form this season. If anything, considering he's been the best solo player of the tournament so far, maybe 6th place is a bit of a low prediction. The big limiting factor for Karama is his drop spot. If you look on the map, he's not really surrounded by a lot of friendly players. Normally he has someone like Akira or Skyjump landing near him, and in this tournament that's just not the case. And look, I'm aware this isn't a surge trading meta anymore, so having friendly people near you isn't as important, but it still matters. He's got Polish players such as Hari and Trucio to the south, and then there's the UK corner of the map at the top, so he's kind of surrounded. There's a high chance he could get keyed in a lot of his games, but listen, this is Karama we're talking about, one of the best solo players on the region. I'm sure he'll have a counter strategy to avoid getting fought in games, and I do think he's going to place high. So now let's get into the top 5. In 5th place, I've got Chap. We all know how good of a solos player Chap is. The reason why I can't put him any higher than 5th is because I don't like some of the players that are surrounding him on the map. He does have creepy camps uncontested, but he's got Dinis and Franek, long-time teammates, to his left, and also Sayaz and Scary Sean, some Spanish players to his right. It does feel like he's a little bit isolated in that corner. It's the same thing I said for Karama. He's just in a bit of a vulnerable position where I think he could get keyed quite easily. But we all know how good of a fighter Chap is, so if he can condition the players around him by getting some eliminations early on in the tournament, then he might not have any issues. In 4th place, I've got Teeny, someone who's done very well in the solo series up until this point. He's splitting Supernova Academy with his duo mate Shark, so I can see him doing very well. It's a pretty nice drop spot situation. I think 4th place is pretty fair for him considering the 3 players that I have above. I'm predicting Vico to come in 3rd place. I already spoke about how he's going to be splitting Canyon Crossing with Malabuka. I had Malabuka in 10th. I think Vico will go a bit further than him. I think he's a slightly better solos player, a better fighter as well, so I think 3rd place is where he'll come. In 2nd place, I've got Shark, someone who's really broken out this year as a top pro. He's been great since Globals has ended, winning a divisional cup with Teeny. Obviously, we know he's going to be splitting Supernova Academy, so he's got a nice drop spot situation. I think from that, with his incredible fighting skills, 2nd place is where I can see him coming. And that's credit to how far he's come, because a few months ago, there's no way I would have put him 2nd in an event like this. I would have said he didn't quite have the experience, but now I think we're past that. I think he really has established himself as a top pro. And now for the 1st place prediction, As of right now, I believe that Hari will win the solo series finals. Firstly, Hari is someone that's been doing well in the solo series up until this point. He managed 5th in opens. He is a great solos player. If we also take a look at the drop spot situation, he's surrounded by a lot of Polish players. He's got Kombek and Kami to the south and Trucio to the east. His drop spot is modest, but it does have enough loot for him to do well. Hari is someone who is a good fighter, but he's also capable of playing conservatively and safely as well, and for that I think he's capable of winning this tournament. And I know that's a big call considering some of the names on the map, some of the names that I haven't even mentioned in this top 10 like Chino, Marius and Kami, but I really do think Hari has a great shot of winning the solo series. So there's my top 10. I should say my predictions could be subject to change. We've still got 24 hours until the tournament and players will switch their drop spots, so if you want to see my final predictions for the solo series, please check out my Twitter before the event and I'll be posting them there. As well as players changing drop spots, I wouldn't be surprised if disagreements from the Eraserland spill over into griefing incidents in the solo series. Having 2 major solos tournaments on back-to-back days does feel like a recipe for griefing. It only takes a player to get keyed in the last game of the Eraserland, who then decides he's going to grief the other player in the whole of the solo series. Don't be surprised if something like that happens. Before we stop talking about solos and get into the duo updates, I do want to talk about a couple of players that just missed out on the top 10. Kami and Kombek were both very close to making the list. I probably would have had Kami in 11th if I could have. We also had iFrozy, who's landing just south of Bugswatter Beach. He's been brilliant since Globals has ended. Obviously he's not a new name, but he is someone that has started placing well, managing 2nd place in last weekend's Divisional Cup, so he's a little bit of a dark horse pick for me to do well. I also think Haris has a great chance of placing high, as does Chicho. I quite like the UK corner at the top of the map as well. I think Velo and Cringe could do really well in this tournament. And let's not forget about the Danish pros. Somehow there wasn't a single one in my top 10, but I do think Fredoxy, Marius and Chino could do well. So now let's talk duos. We had the Evaluation Cup last Wednesday and 4 teams managed to earn money. Sharkantini won game 1. Chino nearly hit an incredible solo clutch to win the game for him and Veno, but fell short of the last hurdle. Shrappt and Euler managed a 13 elimination win in game 2, and then in game 3 Vico and Malabuka got the victory royale. Veno and Chino then made up for their 2nd place in game 1 by winning the final game. We also saw a good spawn fight. Pixie and Wox were fighting against Fredoxy and Hellfire at Rangers Rest. The score ended up being 2-1 to Pixie and Wox. They didn't contest each other in one of the games. I'm sure we're going to see this spawn fight again, maybe in the Divisional Cup finals next week. So before I end the video, let's get into some team changes. We had a couple of duo swaps in the Eval Cup. Reason ended up playing with Flixie whilst Chap played with Vidil. This was all just for fun though. These aren't going to be real duos. We're still going to be seeing Reason and Vidil and Chap and Flixie as the real teams for FNCS. We've also seen some new teams in day 1 of the Divisional Cup. We had Seti back with Yapko whilst Darm was back with Demus. It really does feel like a roulette for some of these Polish players. Who knows who they're going to end up with for FNCS, but for now that's what it is. We also had Pix playing with Kombek. A double IGL setup there. Will be interesting to see how they do if they qualify for finals. Syned is someone who's been trying out a lot of teammates lately. He's playing this week with Kenty. And finally, Pablo Wingu is currently playing with Panzer. As we already know, Fredoxy and Pablo Wingu are currently taking a break. They are planning on playing FNCS together, but they just want a bit of time apart from each other. So whilst Fred is playing with Hellfire, it appears that Pablo is trying with Panzer. It will be interesting to see how that team does. I'm sure if they do well, then they would stick, but I do think Pablo is probably better suited to playing with Fredoxy. Let me know your predictions for the solo series in the comments below. Who do you think is going to do well? Who do you think might struggle? I want to know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next one.